Today's medical-centric topic.
Alright. Next, we'll be talking about the spread of infectious disease. Infectious diseases can be spread quite easily and quite fast. There are several common ways that these diseases can be spread. These include droplets from sneezing or coughing, physical contact, sharing food with people that are sick or have the infections, unwashed hands leaving the disease on surfaces such as desks, toilets, door handles, sinks, poor hygiene like not rinsing your hands again or not showering, unsanitary living conditions such as trash around the home, poor ventilation. This causes the virus and the infection to stay in rooms for longer, and going to work or school when sick or symptomatic. Prevention of infectious disease. Washing hands regularly after using the restroom is very, very important. This causes bacteria to not leave the restroom and spread. Coughing and sneezing into the elbow or to a tissue is also very important because that allows for the droplets to either stay in your elbow or to go into the tissue, and you need to make sure that it's away from people. Maintaining personal hygiene such as brushing teeth, washing hands, and showering are very, very important because that's all where bacteria can fester and spread. Wearing masks, especially in tight spaces with a lot of people, such as grocery stores, schools, work, etc., is all very, very important. Staying home when you feel sick or going to the doctor is also very important. And vaccinations are also extremely, extremely important, and making sure to stay up to date with them is just as important. Few resources are the CDC, the NFID, and the World Health Organization. Question time. Alright, so I'm going to ask you guys some questions again. First off, why can't you use an antibiotic for a viral infection? Yes.
Antibiotics are for bacterial or fungal infections, and the flu is a viral infection.
Correct. So if you were to use an antibiotic on a viral infection, like you said, the flu, it wouldn't really do anything to stop the flu or the symptoms. So you would need an antiviral to help fight the symptoms and fight the virus itself. If you had, yes?
Can taking an antibiotic, if you have the flu or another virus, can that make things worse?
So, yes, it can make things worse because one, you're not actually fighting the virus. Two, when we take antibiotics, we build up a resistance to them, and that resistance doesn't go away for about 2 years after taking a cycle. That means, so the more cycles you take of antibiotics, the more resistance there is, which means that they'll be less effective. Another question that I have for y'all is, what are the most common infections in schools? They could be any single one of them.
Like the cold or the flu?
Yes, those are perfect examples. Can STDs be spread in ways that aren't sexual?
Sharing a drink with someone, or maybe eating off the same silverware?
Yes.
What about sharing a toothbrush?
So, yes. So, STDs can be spread in ways that aren't sexual. These can be transferring saliva in some cases. Other cases can be blood to blood, their blood entering your blood pathways. Other ways can be sitting on a toilet seat that maybe has that STD on it. That's another way. So let's go into a brief summary of everything that we've talked about before we go and circle back. So chronic diseases affect millions of Americans every year. While chronic diseases cannot be cured, they still can be treated. Infectious diseases can be prevented if the necessary steps are taken, and it is all of our duties to take these steps to prevent the spread of disease. All right. So let's circle back around to earlier when we talked about chronic diseases. Do any of you have any questions about chronic diseases? About anything that we talked about in the chronic diseases?
So, for diabetes, you said that type 1 is something that you're born with. Are there any ways to tell if your child is going to have type 1 diabetes?
So, one way to tell is that typically,
Do my parents have to have it for me to have it?
that can happen, yes, but there are also tests that can be done while a person is pregnant in order to determine whether or not that person may be more likely to have type 1 diabetes. Great question. The other types of diabetes, though, like I said, type 2 and gestational, those don't happen during, you're not born with those. You obtain those. And like I said, type 2 diabetes is obtained through poor nutrition, poor lifestyle. Gestational occurs during childbirth.
So after the baby is born, they do not have diabetes anymore. Can it stay?
It can stay, but in most cases, it does go away after pregnancy. Do we have any questions regarding asthma, epilepsy?
About the heart. Where else? The heart.
How about any questions for the infectious diseases? STDs, otherwise, influenza, cold?
So what is the best way to know if you're just having a cough that's like allergies and knowing whether it's actually an infection?
So, great question. Many, like I said, many infections have very general, similar symptoms. The best way to figure out what you have is to go to a doctor. The doctor can run tests that can show exactly what it is, because you may take a COVID test and it may come up that you're negative with COVID. You don't know what you have, so you should always go to the doctor if you have any suspicion that you are sick, so that you can get the best care possible.
How long should you wait? Say if I woke up today and I didn't feel well, I had a cough, or maybe I was really tired. Should I go that day, or should I wait to see?
So it is always best to go at the first sign or suspicion of illness. For some people, that may seem like, oh, they may wake up with a headache. They may not think it's serious, but later in the day, they may develop cough or fatigue. Then they should immediately go to the doctor as soon as possible. So, to reiterate, whenever the first sign of illness is when you should go to the doctor.
Okay.
And when that does happen, you should call out sick for school or work, because you do not want to spread that disease. All right.
We go back to the heart thing.
I don't have any information on heart disease for this. That was more of an example.
I was just gonna ask, does it have to be genetic to pass down?
So, not all heart disease is genetic. You can be more genetically susceptible to heart disease in many cases. Similar to type 2 diabetes and other chronic conditions, heart disease is something that needs to be developed from smoking, poor eating habits, sedentary lifestyle, and drinking, other things like that.
About
Very
stress.
stress can definitely be a factor in developing heart disease. It's not as nearly as big a factor as nutrition, drinking, smoking, everything like that. That's a great question. You can be genetically susceptible to it. So if your parents or your grandparents have a history of heart disease, you are more genetically susceptible to develop it because of that.
And what are the best ways for things to do with the heart disease? What are some of the best ways to help maybe prevent?
So to help prevent it, no smoking, no drinking, and active lifestyle with a healthy diet is the best way to prevent heart disease and chronic heart disease.
Heart disease, can that be caused by high blood pressure or low blood pressure?
So high and low blood pressure are symptoms of a lot of heart diseases, but yes, those low blood pressure, high blood pressure does in times correlate and go hand in hand with heart disease. All right. If that is all the questions for today, I think this was a great class session, and I hope to see y'all tomorrow.